Good evening. My name is Christine Lechner. And when you hear the word realtor, by a show of hands, how many of you think respectable profession? How many of you think slimy salesperson? Real estate is not an easy business. It's actually pretty demanding and can be very taxing on not only the buyer and seller, but also the realtor. Now, in my experience, having worked in the real estate industry in the state of Washington for 11 years, there are things about the business that I really enjoyed and excelled at, and then there were things about the business that I didn't really like so much. So today, what I want to talk about is some of the positive aspects of being in the real estate field and some of the challenges. I'd also like to discuss some of the character traits that are important in order to persevere and succeed in this business. Now, one of the positive, alluring traits of this field is that a realtor is an independent contractor. And that means that there's a lot of flexibility and freedom in your schedule, even with the managing broker overseeing your business. Some of the things that are required in order to succeed as a realtor is you need to not be a procrastinator, and being committed and being structured and having self-discipline are very helpful in this business. A couple other things that are good to be aware of as a realtor is to have fortitude, confidence, be adventuresome, and be risk tolerant. According to the National Association of Realtors, 1 in 5 who start in this business give up after the first 2 years. Just like any other business, it takes a couple of years in order to get off the ground. Now, relationships are foundational to real estate sales. And if anybody were to ponder whether or not to get into this field, some questions that they might want to reflect upon are, what do I value? Do I have ethical principles? Am I honest? When a client decides that they're going to place their trust in you to help them either acquire or sell a asset that's worth several hundred thousands of dollars, they want to be confident that they can trust you. And Orb Owens says, he's a famous author who wrote the book Relationship Selling, every deed, thought, and reaction is based upon your values. Once you have chosen your values, they will control you. It's really important to be thorough and diligent in this industry, and prior to entering into any agency relationship with a buyer or seller, you want to discuss expectations, and you want to have them ask questions and be asking questions yourself as a realtor. Now, some realtors prefer working with buyers, some prefer working with sellers, and some are just happy to work with either. In my experience, working with buyers was a bit easier. They seem to be much more appreciative of my efforts. Now, housing is a need for everybody, and so buyers are often very excited and motivated about the buying process. First-time buyers tend to need a little bit more nurturing, and they need to be educated a little bit more than your average client. Another aspect of real estate that is a positive for a buyer is that real estate can be a good investment. This, of course, depends on market conditions, timing, and location. For example, the second to last sale that I had was in a really prime location, and in 2010 the house appraised for $500,000, and in 2017 it sold for just over $1 million. So working with buyers requires determination and patience. It can take months or even years before a buyer decides to buy something. Just because an offer has been written doesn't mean that you have a sales contract, or you might have a sales contract and then the financing fails, or the buyer through the investigation process decides that there's an issue with the property and they rescind the offer. And sometimes buyers, they'll give up or take a break. Now, when it comes to loyalty, it would be nice if we could say that all buyers were loyal, But unfortunately, there are some realtors out there who are less than ethical. So it's wise for a real estate professional to broach the subject up front and get something in writing regarding loyalty, and this not only takes professionalism, but it requires tact, firmness, and boldness. Now, working with sellers can be a pleasant experience when they are reasonable and fair. The upfront work required with buyers or sellers, is usually more cumbersome than it is with working with buyers. Buyers require more work upfront with showing them properties all across the countryside, where once you do the upfront work with the seller, then after that, it's basically marketing and communication. So what can make the seller challenging is usually involves their risk tolerance level. Sometimes a seller will have a time frame in which they need to sell their home, and that could be based on job relocation, or a family wants to get their home sold and get into a new home before school starts in the fall. Now, in a slow to normal market, if a home that has been listed is not receiving a lot of interest or activity, a realtor needs to be prepared for unhappy sellers. Now, the issue oftentimes is if the house isn't getting the activity that's desired, if it's not related to location or an environmental concern, it usually is a price issue. One of the worst mistakes a realtor can make is to not price the home properly. So not only is it important for realtors when representing buyers or sellers to be respectful and self-controlled, it's really important to be knowledgeable about the market. Now, another challenge regarding sellers is that sometimes they'll have an inflated value of what their home is worth. And so as a realtor, if you're really far apart in valuations, it's probably wise to just say, thank you anyway, Mr. Seller, next. You'll be saving yourself a lot of headaches and marketing dollars and wasted time. And oftentimes when a seller has become challenging regarding the value of a home, it has to do with the fact that they have other resources that they're looking at, whether it be web-based resources or they're listening to the peanut gallery of friends and family. So even Zillow says, while estimates are a great starting point for determining the value of a home, ultimately a home is worth what someone will pay for it. Zillow encourages home buyers and sellers to work with an experienced local real estate professional to determine and fine-tune a home's best price. Now, in conclusion, according to Zig Ziglar, the trip to the top is seldom, if ever, in a straight line. All of us have our ups and our downs. Now, today we've considered some of the benefits of working in the real estate industry, some of the challenges, some of the character traits required in order to succeed in this business. And the most important quality or character trait is having a heart to serve other people. Relationships are foundational for success, and yes, people can be challenging, and character traits that are less than desirable can be exposed as a result of working in this field. So it's not an easy business, but it is an opportunity for growth and character refinement.